of a great rivalry. The border war between Kansas and Missouri there in Columbia. It's another one we technically got right with our pick. The score difference, maybe not so, but pretty close again. 42-31 was the end result. Kansas just came out super hot. I think they were up by multiple possessions early. It was more or less Missouri kind of shooting themselves in the foot early on. I think it was, a fumble, if I'm not mistaken, and just not playing clean football. I think going up against an actual opponent, bringing it to Eli Drinkwitz's squad was kind of the gist, but they were able to respond. They have more than enough talent. Lance Leopold, I think, had a great game plan with having Jalen Daniels do his thing. But again, it wasn't enough. I think maybe the running game was definitely just a big issue. There was no complementing of Jalen Daniels through the passing game. It was just him throughout this, and I think that was the ultimate reason why Kansas lost this. We talked about LaShawn Williams and Daniel Hillshaw Jr. They needed to play perfect for running backs, and they didn't. LaShawn Williams had 3 carries for 0 yards, and Hillshaw Jr. had 6 carries for 11 total. Just a bad day in the office. 3 yards rushing because you had the minus 25. I think it was like some kind of mishap punt, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. That ended up being minus 25 yards. And then Jalen Daniels only had 17. He was scrambling for his life. Again, Missouri's defense, I think, is going to be a hell of a lot more serious. I think they just went up against a very great quarterback, a veteran quarterback with a lot of experience, but also on top of that, he's very talented. He went 18 for 30, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. Unfortunately, a pick there for that game in Columbia again. Our big question was how KU was going to cope with some early season injuries. Bangali Kamara definitely wasn't 100%. He eventually played, I think, Ship. I'm just double checking to see if he registered. I don't think he was able to add that extra depth that I think KU needed in this. This was more or less going to be a game where their defense was going to be broken down slowly, and it ended up being that as well. As Mizou's ground game, that was the ground and pound we talked about. You guys, Ahmed Hardy, he's a serious player. You cannot disrespect a guy like that. I know he comes over from UL Monroe. He was a freshman All-American, and he had a great game. 112 yards, got himself a touchdown with 25 carries. Jamal Roberts complimented him even more, 13 carries for 143 yards. And then Bo Pupiola, he didn't really have to do much, but in the times he needed to use his legs, it was more than enough. He only had 6 yards for 9 carries. I think he got sacked a couple of times, or more than 4 times, and that allowed that number not to be so pretty. But he had 334 yards. A guy that was kind of just well known for being athletic, not being a guy that is much of a thrower in the past. And kind of just came in for when he was at Penn State for running situations. 334 yards. You get that out of your quarterback, you're going to have a great time. 3 touchdowns. The guy that I was talking about being the difference and the big factor in this one was Kevin Coleman Jr. He had 10 receptions, 126 yards. He was a guy that allowed the chains to move in big and small plays. And ultimately, he was a guy that was allowing Bo Pupiola to get super comfortable behind that big offensive line. That was also the reason why the Missouri Tigers won this game. It took them a little bit time to get things rolling in the running game. But once it did get rolling behind Tullison, Green, Gadice, Strauss, things were going to go Missouri's way. One big player that I guess didn't have the best time, but I think KU going into this was like, we got to shut this guy down. That was complimenting Kevin Coleman Jr. out wide was Marquise Johnson. He had 134 yards the week prior against Central Arkansas. He only ends up getting 2 receptions for 21 yards. Obviously a slow night for him, but everyone else kind of made up for it in a big win. The revival of the border war there, as again Missouri wins 42-31. Just was not good enough in terms of their run defense and having the necessary depth to stopping the Tigers and getting things rolling there a little bit later. Our score difference was a 17-point difference in favor of Mizou. It ended up being 11, so we were a possession off. It could have been that. The Jayhawks, I believe, scored a little bit towards the end of the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they did. And then on top of that, they threw an interception, which would have been Jalen Daniels' final play in this contest. And kind of feels good. We got one right. And let's keep moving off of the 121st border war that revived itself from 2011. Can't wait for next year's.